Hey guys, this is Betamax Man. We're back on working on my good friend Mr. Magnedoscope's Toshiba Beta VCR. So, this is, it's hard seeing this because I think of my good friend. Sometimes it makes me cry, but anyway, let's get this thing back up and going. Mechanically, this thing is working 100%. Electronically, well, not so much. And I've tried adjusting the tracking, and it doesn't help at all. So, I'll show you what the picture does. Yeah, see that on the bottom. Oh yeah, she's nice. Anyway, you see that fuzz on the bottom there. And then in the center you can see some fuzziness, and it really doesn't matter. I can change the tracking, I can adjust it here, and it just doesn't see I move it both ways and it's not really, see, that's about as best as I can get it, right about there. That's about the best I can get it. So that's about the picture quality is bad. What I want to do is look at the head amplifier, because I think that maybe the head amplifier might be responsible for the issue. I'm about 90% positive on that one, so let's unplug this. And this is a factory tape. This is a show called Romancing the Stone. This was a show that came out back in the late 80s, and my dad purchased this movie on VHS because that's what we had when I was growing up. And my sister Amanda watched it so many times she actually wore the tape out. And I remember getting so sick and tired of seeing the movie that I purposely crinkled some of the tape at the beginning to maybe get her so she wouldn't want to watch it. Didn't work. She's still done it. So that's a little history on this movie and why it's but I do like the movie, but I've seen it so many times that I just don't really care that much about it anymore. But so we'll put this back on the shelf. And the reason for using a factory tape, and this, even though it's a Scotch, this one's in really good condition. So this tape actually does play back pretty well on my other machines. So this is the one that we're going to work on today. I'm not sure, but I think this is the head amplifier right here. But it may not be. I think it is, as it's marked. It's the video, and this is these wires here are coming off the video head, so that's why I think that this is the head amplifier. So what I'm going to do, we'll unplug it, we got this off. I'm going to check these capacitors and see if any of them has failed. If we don't have any bad capacitors in this one, then the problem will be somewhere else. But I really think that the head amp is right in here. But I could be wrong. But the audio is here as well, so this does something to do with the audio back here too. So I'm not really sure if that's the head amp, but I think it is, because the wire is going from the head drum assembly, so that's most likely that is that is the head amp. But let's get into it and see if we can make the picture quality better. And I'm really hoping that we can, get this thing to where it has a good picture. Now, this thing worked when he had it. When he had it, he said that it did have a good picture. So, it's not working right now, so don't know what happened to it. I got an idea that the capacitors in this thing has probably went bad, one or two or maybe more, and is causing the noise in the picture. Yeah, so we got the board out. There's quite a bit of wires that have to be disconnected before you can get this board out, but I wanted the board out because I want to be able to replace all these capacitors and other components and stuff. But for today, all we're going to do is just improve the picture quality. And yes, I was correct. This is the head amplifier right in here. The audio is this one. So this one's, I believe, for the audio, but I'm not sure on that one. So let's just take a look and see, because I believe, yes, I think that's the head amp for the audio. And we're gonna have to, well, we can get those changed too. But I'm not having trouble with the audio, I'm just having trouble with the video. So I am just going to work on the video. So I've got my iron heating up, and we're gonna change them while we're waiting. Okay, so we've got to take, so we have to take this metal plate off. And you know what? If I gotta take, oh, I'm right, preamp. Yes, this is the head amplifier. See, I was right. Because if you want to find the head amp and you don't know where it is, well, what do? You trace back the wires. So the wires that are going from the video head drum assembly, and it's going to follow it all the way to the circuit board, and that'll tell you where the head amp is. Sometimes it's called a preamp. Sometimes it's a head amp. I call it a head amp, but a lot of times the proper name is preamp. So, but means how we gotta take this shielding off of this one. Hey, we might as well do the audio while we're at it. I mean, why not, right? And hey, we don't have very many circuit boards. This one's got like two circuit boards and power supply, which is our transformer, which is right there. Be careful touching the transformer, because these machines can holds the voltage for at least a good, you want to unplug them for at least a good 30 minutes to an hour before poking around in a power supply. That's why I always let my power supply be unplugged for more than an hour. Sometimes I let it sit for a couple hours before I work on them, because they can hold a charge. Now if I had an isolation power thing, power thing, I would be able to not worry so much, but I don't have one of those. So anyway, now what we need to do is get this unsoldered. So we're gonna heat the solder up, get my solder sucker, we're gonna suck the solder, and this board will come right off. And this is a grounding strap. For those of you who don't know what that is, that's the grounding strap. So just so you guys are aware. And yes, you need to hook the grounding strap back up, because they've got it grounded to the cassette housing here. So this actually screws into the cassette housing right in there. That's where the screw goes, is right there. So let's get started. So I'm going to put this camera at a angle where you guys can see what I'm doing. That'll give you a visual of what I'm doing. I've got a piece of solder here that I need to use up, so I'll use this piece of solder. I don't want to waste solder, so we'll use that before I use any other ones. Oh yeah, I think I still have to change, well, I forgot to change that tip, but that's okay. I can change the tip later. If you buy cheap tips, they get hot. The cheap ones, they get hot, and then the tip actually breaks off, and that's the problem I'm having with the tips that I purchased. They were not cheap ones, but they weren't good ones either, so they were medium grade, and I need to get some really good quality solder tips, because the ones I have are they're going bad on me, because they get heat, and a good tip will last for a long time, but a cheap one, no, not so much. Alright, I think my solder is good now. Just gonna unsolder I gotta get access to it, and I gotta unsolder the tips here. Um, it's really hot in here. Let me open the window. This is like 80 degrees in here. I'm sweating bullets. It's really warm in my workshop. And yes, my workshop is also my bedroom. I might need to heat it up. I think what I'll end up doing is pulling up on the panel and then heating up the solder in order for it to get away. So I just gotta get this underneath there and pull up. There we go, guys. I'm just going to leave the plate up in the up position. And now I can get to the caps. Okay, so the two capacitors I can see already. Alright, so it's got one there. See, they kind of mark them a little different, but so there we go. So we'll check the capacitors here. Let's get my multimeter. I know I left it on. I'm gonna have to get new batteries for it probably. No, it's still working. So, okay, let's get the testing done. Let's just test these. Okay, that one is bad. That one is good. Bad. See, there's quite a few bad ones here. There's a couple of them that are bad. And that would explain a lot. Yeah. Yeah, we definitely have a bad one here. I'm gonna change every one of them. That's what I'm going to do. We're just going to change every single one. And they're probably a 16 at 47. That is what I'm thinking. Let's see, what are they? Let's see where the... I'm trying to see if I can see. Oh, they're 50 volt at 1. Okay. Yeah, so they're 50 volt at 1. Wow. There's that fish smell. That's bad. That is bad. Shit. Yeah, that one's bad for sure, guys. Wow. You guys are lucky you don't have smell-o-vision. What is it with these caps? Gosh. Man, those things smell, guys. These things stink. Those two stunk. Okay, there's another one right over here. Well, at least this one doesn't smell. Yeah, that one doesn't smell at all, so... Oops. Whoopsie, whoopsie, whoopsie. I gotta resolder that one. That one's a high temp cap. And that one don't smell, so that's good. Where is my... Oh yeah, that's right, I was gonna use that little piece. Yeah, some of those are really stinking. Okay, so this is a 50 at 1, and it's a Sanyo capacitor. Probably gonna have to dig a couple of these. They may not all be 50 at 1, but you never know, so you might as well just check. Pull one out until you know for sure, right? The Rubicon caps that I bought, I don't like them because they don't have a labeling on what's negative and what's positive. You have to look at the lead to tell if it's negative or positive lead. The negative lead is always going to be shorter than the positive. So if you can't see any markings on the capacitor as to if it's negative or positive, just remember that the negative is always small and the positive is always long. Unless it's a used one, then it's going to be harder to tell. But the new ones you can tell because they have long leads on them. So no worries about that. So let's pull. We're gonna pull the. Just pull this one out. Okay. Yeah, 50 at 1. So they're probably all of them are 50 at 1s. But we'll just get some in here. These 50 volt at 1 capacitors, they seem to always be the most commonly used in electronics, you know, as far as like VCRs. I don't do other electronics only if I have like a buddy of mine who wants me to work on it and I don't film them, but maybe I'll start filming some of the other electronics that I repair. But usually it's always VCRs, and it's mainly beta machines because I really don't care about the other electronics. So there we go. Pull this one out. We need to pull this one. We need to pull that one. And my sucker was plugged. That stinks. should be able to start pulling the other ones out. But I like to just pull all of them out. Okay, this is a 16 at 22. Just goes to show you, sometimes they're not all the same. Sometimes they're different, so. But I do think that this is going to improve the picture quality by far, because I could see just how bad the caps, they were not only bad, but they were leaking. And I could smell it. Like, I mean, that was pretty potent smell too. Okay, this is a 16 at 10. Those are common too, so. Nope, that's not the right one. Good thing I looked at it, because it was in the wrong spot. This is so let's see, this one is, okay, this is a 16 at 22, I am running extremely low on the 16 at 22. If you don't have a 16 at 22, you could put a 25 at 22, even though I don't recommend doing that, but you can do that. But I would not recommend doing that. I would recommend getting the right one. But if it was something you wanted to get going real quick and you had no option, then that would be something you could do. So, okay, so we're going to go ahead now and I'm going to get these caps soldered in, and then we're going to put the shielding back on, and we'll see if we have any good results. And I'm going to grab my other solder, because that solder I was going to use is not the best solder, and I don't think it was the proper solder, so we're going to use this new roll that I have. As I don't think that stuff was for electronics, and I can tell just by the way it was acting when I soldered with it. So we'll just get this new roll here that was specified for electronics. This is a 1 mil thickness on the solder. I'm surprised none of the traces were damaged, because usually when you get capacitors that are leaking, usually they damage the traces on the board, and you have to do what's called a bridge, where you find where the original source is coming from, and then you get a piece of wire and connect to the lead where it was coming from and to where the cap is, right onto the cap. So you go from the capacitor lead all the way to where the trace was originally coming from. Sometimes you may have I can't remember what I was going to say, but anyway, sometimes you have these capacitors and they leak and damage the traces, and then you gotta go and find where the original lead is going from. So let's get my nippers and we'll nip off the leads. And we'll take a look at the... I think we'll just take a look at the audio section while we're here. We're gonna okay, so now we're gonna straighten the plate as much as I can. Unfortunately, I had to bend the plate and pull up on it to get, because the solder sucker wasn't good enough to get the solder because there was so much of it and it was plugging up my solder sucker. So there we go. Now we'll put some more solder. We'll just reflow some more solder onto those areas, and we'll get this plate back down into place. Push down on that. My tip's in bad shape. There we go. I'm just gonna get some solder here on there. I want to get a nice even flow of solder here. So that is back into place, that shielding. And doesn't look too bad, does it? I got it all soldered back on. They got the plate. That's what I was working on, is putting this plate back on. And I guess I couldn't show it because my camera is a little too high, but I can't do nothing about that. We're going to go ahead and I'll show you the caps that we put in. So these blue ones are new. The green ones are new. That black one is new. They're all new. All the irregular capacitors are all new. The only capacitors that I didn't change was the high temperature capacitors, which is also called the pancake capacitors. So the next thing to do is let's just put this plate back on now, because we've got that taken care of. Oh wait, we gotta put the wire. Has to have the wire on it anyway, so we're gonna have to leave that off for now. And we'll do let's check. We can check this side over here as well and see if, because we may have some bad caps on that one as well. You know, it would be good, you know, at some point in time, probably not anytime soon, but at some point in time I want to go in and just start replacing not only the capacitors, but the pancake caps, the transistors and the resistors and stuff. If I go through all that, this machine will last a very long time. If all these components are all changed on this board, it will go for another 30 years, you know. It will, maybe not that long, because the heads probably won't last that long. But the video heads, as long as the video heads are in good shape and the electronics have all been redone, this machine should go on at least another 15, 20 years, you know. So we've got 4 electrolytics to change. Now I don't know if they're bad or not. I think what I'll do is just let's get this plate off, and we'll just go ahead and change them. Even though I'm not really having any audio problems, we're still going to change them out anyway. It's interesting how even the factory does this. Instead of mounting the transistor, or no, that's a resistor. This resistor, I mean, instead of taking the resistor and putting it on the other side, they just tacked it to that. So, and that's okay, that's acceptable as long as you have a insulation tape of some sort, to like electrical tape, and put underneath the leads so that the leads can't touch the other components on the board, because it'll short it out. Same thing over here. These are these components over here, same way. So anyway, let's get I'm just gonna pull up on that piece of metal. I don't want it touching, but not a bad job. I kind of bent it a little bit, but I had to bend it back in place. Probably have to do the same thing to this. So let's get this. I'm gonna get this off and change those, and then we'll put this thing back together and we'll see how it performs. Okay, we've changed out all the capacitors in this section. there was only one that was bad. So apparently it wasn't bad enough to cause problems, but I've already put the shield on. I put that on, and the reason why is to hold the capacitors into place while I solder them. So now I'm going to nip off the leads here. We'll just nip these leads here and put it back, put the shielding plate back on, which is this one right here. And we'll put the board back in. I might even check for other capacitors. I'm going to look for the Elna capacitors, and I'm also looking for Sanyo ones that go bad. So which they do quite often. It's the Elna and the Sanyos, they tend to go bad. The black Sanyo caps don't seem to go out as much as the blue ones do, but we'll get this all taken care of. Yeah, it looks like an Elna right there that we'll pull and replace. So we'll get this taken care of, and then we'll start looking at some other ones. So I took the cap off just so I can show you the new capacitors that have been put in. So these, there were 4 regular caps. We've changed them. The one that was bad, I believe, was the 50 volt one. Those have been changed, obviously, as you've seen. I'm just looking at some other ones that may have Elnas in them. The Elnas always go bad. So I figured, you know what? I've already got the thing taken apart. Why, you know, I've got it all taken apart. Why put it back together and do it later? Why not just do it now? You know, as far as like checking to make sure that there's the Elnas, every time I come across an Elna, they're bad. So I don't like Elna capacitors. So due to the fact that we already had some that has failed. Okay, that one's the same yellow. Okay. Yeah, I don't think I see any on this, so which is a good thing. But I do want to, at some point in time, I do want to go all the way through the board and do, you know, everything. So this doesn't have anything to do with the audio, because I was looking at the board and I seen that this was marked audio. So the audio is actually on this board here, and what I can do is check. I'm not having any issues with the audio, but I do want to go ahead and check them and see, you know, if there are any that may need changed. You know, I think that, you know, changing caps does most of the time fixes these electronics, but not always. Sometimes it's a transistor. You know, transistors go bad almost as much as the capacitors do. So I'm just gonna check this board and make sure there's no Elnas. Like I said, I don't like Elna. I think Elna was the crappiest capacitor ever made. Wait a minute, I think I see an Elna here. Yeah. No, that's not an Elna. No, that's fine. So I think what I'll do now is I'm going to look at the components here on the audio board. And then put it together. Because sometimes the audio can be muffled. And a lot of times you would think, okay, well, it's a mono machine, so it sounds not going to be that great anyway. But if you've got you got mono sound, but you got a little bit of muffled sounding sound, you know, that you need to check your audio board and check the caps and check your transistors too, because they go bad almost as much as the caps do. So I went ahead and changed some of the capacitors. All the capacitors in the audio board here. Where the white outline is, that's where the audio is. And there were some bad caps on this board. And I changed them because even though the sound didn't sound like it had a problem, obviously it did. I must not have noticed it. It was probably on low, so I didn't notice. If the volume was on low, I probably wouldn't have noticed. But had I turned the volume up a little bit, I would have noticed. But there were bad capacitors in this audio board area. So they were the Sanyo capacitors. Yeah, Sanyo caps do go bad, you know, like every other cap. But I think the most common caps that go bad are the blue Sanyos and the Elnas. And the Nichicon. Or no, not Nichicon, Rubicon. Some of the Rubicons, they go bad. But we're going to put this in the machine and we'll see how the machine performs. Okay guys, before I put the screws back in, I want to make sure this thing is still working, because sometimes I just got it plugged in. Let's put the shielding back on here. Sometimes when you're working on something, sometimes, you know, you'll have an issue, and sometimes you won't. But I think it'll work now. But you know, you don't know. Sometimes you can forget to put something back in, or like plug a plug in, or, you know, maybe, you know, you forgot to, you know, put a capacitor in or whatever. It's always a good idea to double check your work before you put it back together. So let's see if we get any difference in sound, video, well, sound as well. And this is that same tape, so let's just see. Oh wow, major difference, major difference. Look, the video is clear, crystal clear, like it should be. Changing out that head amplifier has really done a major difference. I won't show that much of it because I don't want to get copyrighted, but we'll show the top half here. But the picture quality is fantastic. I'm very happy with it. Now let's check our audio and see how good our audio is. So we're going to turn the audio up here. Sounds good. Sounds really, really good. And our tracking is right in the center. So if we just even our tracking is better. Oh yeah, tracking is way, way better.
I finished, sweetheart. Want to celebrate?
Yeah, so we move it all the way. Oh yeah, very good, very good. I would say that audio is really good too. That audio is superb. Look at that audio. That's only on volume 20. Well, you can hear it all the way down to like 14. You can still hear it very well. I'm very, very happy and with this machine, the way it's performing. It's doing a lot better. And like I said, the soundboard, which was this one, we've changed every capacitor on the audio board here. We've changed every capacitor on the head amplifier. I even changed the capacitors over here underneath this shielding plate, and it works good. So very happy with it. So what I'll do is put the screws back in the circuit board. We'll clean the heads, and this one will be ready to be used. I'm probably going to use this as maybe one of my rewinding decks, because my 1000 is having an issue with the rewinding and I don't know what's going on with it. I think the Hall effect device is starting to fail in the motor, but it'll play and it'll fast forward. It will rewind if it's been on for a little while, like for 30 minutes or so. The machine warms up and it'll rewind, but it'll still rewind real slow. So I have to, that's gonna be next on my project, is to figure out why the rewind is not working on my 1000. That's gonna be the next project. But probably just hook this up and use it for, I might even just use it for playback. It'll play back my factory tapes. It's not gonna play back my Beta 1, but you know what? I am curious. Let's just see if this will play back Beta 1. I doubt that it will. I don't think it will, because I don't think these play back Beta 1. I think they only do 2 and 3. They do not play back or record in that one Beta 1 speed. So we'll just turn the volume all the way down here. Alright, so we'll check and see if maybe we'll put a Beta 1 tape in. This is a Beta 1. Actually, it's a Beta 1 high band, but that doesn't matter. And it won't play Beta 1 at all, because it actually plays it too slow of a speed, and this is what we get. That's what we get. Our video is not correct, our sound is bad. Hear that? So yeah, it's not going to play back beta 1, but at least it'll play back my factory tapes, you know. So what I'll do is put this back together. I'm gonna clean the heads. I'm gonna eat dinner when I get done with my dinner, and we'll finish up the video, and we'll call this video good. And we got this one up and going really good. Now it works mechanically as well as electronically. We've now changed all the bad capacitors. Well, it probably has more bad caps, but I don't know for sure, so I'm not going to do that. I'm not replacing all of them right now because I don't have the capacitors to do so. I have to order a bunch of caps. In order to recap this, I have to order a ton of capacitors. And I'd have to order the pancake capacitors. I think what I am going to do with this thing, I'm just going to replace the capacitors that needs to be changed, and then let it lay, you know, just let it stay this way, because the way it is now, it's playing back very good, and it's rewinding, it's fast forwarding fine. Mr. Magnedoscope, he fixed the mechanical issue, which was an issue with the tire, and there was an issue with one of the belts or something. So he had fixed the mechanical part. All I had to do was fix the electrical part. I had to fix the electronics part. But now that that is working now, and we're going to go into the... I probably will go into the power supply at some point and see if we can get this clock display to be brighter, because it's dim. That clock display, it could be dim due to worn out capacitors in the power supply. It could also be dim due to the actual display is starting to wear out. So anyway, we'll finish this video up here shortly after I eat dinner. So it'll be a little later before we can finish this up. Okay, well, this will be the ending. I just so happen to have Aladdin on beta. You can see the sticker, and we're gonna put Aladdin in the player. So we're gonna do a final testing here, all put back together. And we'll just fast forward through all this. The Walt Disney Classics. There it is. She's playing back. Very good picture. Yes, I know. This movie is the rarest of the rare, along with the Lion King. This one was 91 or 92 when it came out. This is, yeah, I believe it was 92 when it came out. And, but the fact that I have it on beta is superb. We have picture search. We have reverse search. Plays just fine. I could hear the idler tire struggling a little bit when we were doing picture search and rewind function. I'm gonna have to put a new tire in that. Put a new tire in. That's all I could do for it. And I don't think I have the size needed. I think it's one of these oddball sizes for the tire. But this thing doesn't eat tapes or nothing. It works perfectly. So we're just gonna rewind it. And we'll eject it. And there we go. Well, anyway, that's gonna be the end. I'm gonna go eat dinner now. Yeah, that's it. This thing is working beautifully now. Has very good picture, has very good sound. This machine is back up to working order. So, anyway, we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.